Hi everyone, my name is Gigi and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about something that truly changed my life without me physically changing anything in my life. I didn't move out, move towns, move countries, I didn't change my job, I didn't get new friends, nothing. The only thing that I changed and I actively worked on was how I thought about my life. One thing that I noticed over and over again, whether it was my friends, my family, colleagues at work, or even the content I consumed online, like TikToks and Instagram posts, were the same phrases or the same type of phrases being used over and over again. These were phrases like, why does this always happen to me? Why am I so unlucky? What did I do to deserve this? And it was that same mindset of almost life is against me. I'm playing this game of life and I'm made to lose. And I am guilty of this too. I constantly found myself saying, why do bad things always happen to me? Why can't something good just happen for once? And I even found myself in situations where good things would happen to me, and instead of being happy and privileged that I had experienced something good, I was scared that now something bad had to happen because I had experienced something good. This is something that I like to call the victim mentality. The idea that life is set up for you to fail. And you almost are stuck in this rut of believing that no matter what you do or how much effort you spend on something, it's never going to work out. So you get stuck in this loop of doing stuff or not wanting to do stuff because you just believe it's not going to work out. You probably recognize this in yourself. You will be sick of your life. You'll even use the words such as, I hate my life, I hate my job, I hate this situation that I'm in. And you'll go to your friends or your family members, whoever you trust, and you'll say to them, I hate this situation. I really wish I could do something. I feel so bad. I feel so exhausted. I'm so sad all the time. But after you've complained, you'll just go back to keep living that same thing over and over again. You won't do anything to change it. So why is this? Why do we live in this victim mentality where we believe that life is set up for us to fail? The reality is that we're taught this. We're taught to believe that we're stuck in a comfort zone, and because you know what's happening, because you know how it feels to be in this zone, because you know the outcome of this zone, you don't want to venture out. You don't want to continue to go forward because you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, you could achieve your goals, but what if you don't? That is why we get stuck in these ruts of hating our life and wanting things to change, but nothing ever changing. Because in that zone, in that rut that we're in, we know how we feel. We wake up and we feel bad. We wake up, we feel exhausted. We go to work, we hate it. We come home, we're tired. We eat, we sleep, and the same cycle happens again. But at least we know. But most people are terrified of trying their hardest and people seeing them try their hardest and then failing. They do all of these steps and they fail. And that's why nobody wants to move forward. Nobody truly wants to change, because changing means accepting you might fail. And people might see that. We also live in a society where it has become the normal thing to be struggling. It's become the normal thing to hate your job, to hate where you live, to hate how you live, to be struggling with diets and being active, to struggle with being happy and motivated. And it has become a relatable thing to voice that. It has become relatable to be struggling at life. That's why you see all over social media people talking about how bad their day has been, or an awful experience has happened to them, because it's more relatable to the majority to have bad things happen and be struggling than to have good things happen and to be thriving at life. In fact, you might, if you post that type of content, receive hate from the general public because they don't relate to it. They don't relate to this happy, motivating, achieving kind of lifestyle. What a lot of people don't realize is that by staying in this comfort zone and constantly talking about how bad your life is and consuming content that fits in with that mindset that you have, you're choosing to stay there. You're choosing to stay in that mindset. You're choosing to fail, whether you're aware of it or not. And I want to make this very clear, a lot of this is subconscious. A lot of these choices you make and the mindset that just automatically happens is subconscious. And you have to consciously become aware of it. You have to take responsibility and accountability of the way that you think. Because a lot of people watching this will probably sit there in the comments and be like, but I'm depressed. Are you saying that I just have to stop being depressed? No, of course not. But again, depression, anxiety, they're mental disorders. They are literally things that you can change if you put the work in. I am someone who was diagnosed with depression and also anxiety, but have I let that stop me? Have I used it as an excuse? I found myself over and over again using the same excuses to why I can't do things. I'm too tired, I'm always just so exhausted, or I can't do that because I have all these mental blockages because of my anxiety. I'm not skilled enough to do that. I can't achieve that level of work. But that's what it is. It's excuses. Because the thing is, if you truly want to change, you will do it whether you are depressed, whether you are tired, whether you don't have the time. Because if you truly want to change, you will. If you're truly sick of your life, you will do something about it. And that is the harsh reality. That is the harsh reality a lot of people do not want to come to terms with. That is the harsh reality that people don't want to take accountability for. And that is the fact that you are not changing because you don't want to change enough. You are happy living in that comfort zone where you can talk to your friends and relate to the people around you, and it's too difficult for you. It's too time consuming. It's too exhausting to take that risk and move forward, to be different, to not be able to relate to the people around you anymore. And to take the risk to fail. So what if you fail? What will happen if you fail? Will you lose money? Maybe. But you know what you can do? You can make more money. Will you lose friends? Maybe. But if you lose them, that means they weren't your true friend in the first place. The thing is that we have our whole lives. We have our whole lives to change. And if you stay in this victim mentality, that this is just the way life is, if you stay in that subconscious rut of life is against me, God is against me, the universe is against me, nothing will ever happen. And you'll get to your 80s and you'll think, why didn't I push myself? So why do we get stuck in this victim mentality? A lot of the time we're taught this habit of believing nothing is going to work out because we've experienced that earlier in life. Maybe as a child or as a teen, being around people who don't approve of the things that you do. Maybe you put your heart and soul into something and really connected with something, only for it to be criticized by people who you look up to the most. Maybe you've tried your hardest throughout your whole life to become something, only to be met with disappointment because it hasn't worked out. This kind of behavior and this kind of mindset is taught. It is taught to us because it's happened over and over again. Some people even develop this kind of mindset due to trauma, due to something bad happening to them as a child or maybe an early teen, and because they've received this kind of sympathy and this kind of attention from the people around them, they hear the words, I'm so sorry you had to go through that, and no one should ever experience that. They start to enjoy the attention of being the victim, and because of that, they keep putting themselves into situations, bad situations, where they're going to receive that same type of attention. Now, I'm not saying that's the same case for everyone, but I've definitely myself experienced someone who quite literally got themselves into awful situations time and time again because subconsciously they wanted the attention because they didn't get attention previously. And then a traumatic event happened, they got all this attention, And now they keep putting themselves into situations because that's the only way they can see themselves getting this attention. If you are going to take anything from this video, let it be these two things. Number one, if you are not changing it, you are choosing it. You've probably heard this phrase going around quite a lot recently, but it is the most truest phrase I've ever heard. If you are not changing your life, then you are choosing to stay in that life. You are choosing to stay in that phase of your life. If you really wanted to change your life, you would change it because you would not be happy with choosing that version of your life. Number two is that we have no control over external factors of our lives. What I mean by that is we can't control other people, what they think of us, how they feel, how they act around us, and we can't control what other people do with their lives. We can't control divorces of other people or getting let go from our jobs. We can't control that. But what we can control is how we think about those things and how we let those things affect us. If you can start to control your own thoughts and feelings behind these things that happen around you, you literally have the biggest superpower out there. You are quite literally, as I mentioned at the start of this video, going to be able to change your life without physically changing anything. Because once you can control how you view the life that you already have, that's when you can start changing things positively. You can start making the moves. Because the things that you viewed before as life-changing and things that would make you so exhausted and so depressed suddenly don't seem as bad anymore. Because you can control that. You can view them differently. Rather than seeing work as this exhausting activity that you hate, you can view it as a challenge. You can view it as something that you know you have to do until you can make the change, until you can put the things together. And you'll actively want to start trying to change and to make the changes towards getting out of that job. That is all from me today. If you have any questions or comments that you'd like to leave down below, I will try and get back to as many as I possibly can. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, however you spend it. Bye!